Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. I'm so used to saying joining me as always is my man FF Snoog, but we got some special guests on tonight. You guys saw him from our ADP Fade show. My main man, Jared at PPR Tips. How you doing tonight, brother?
What's up? Excited to be back, ready to talk some ball. Love doing it every time.
You haven't gotten enough, people haven't been attacking you for your Ashton Jeanty takes or Marvin Harrison, have you? Because I was getting some flack. You're like, hey, that's my guy.
Surprisingly not. I think, either one, the people that don't like it just decided not to come over to my page. They probably just unfollowed me. So, just got away from it.
Nice. And new to the show, he's been helping us out in the Smash Accept research. He's in the Discord. Mark Gartenberg, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here and talk some fantasy, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's a super sharp guy. You guys got to follow both of these guys on Twitter. We'll give them a little bit of a, hype up there at the end. But we did a mock draft, and we were really trying to focus this on redraft running backs. And what we're going to do throughout the mock draft, and we really try to build a community at Smash Accept. And we had, ourselves and 9 guys that are in the Discord. We drafted, and we wanted to come at you guys and show you guys running backs that we think are either overpriced, underpriced, or appropriately priced. These 2 guys are super sharp when it comes to talking ball, so we're just going to jump right into this. The other part of the show is, and this is awesome, because we are going to give away our last draft board from draftkits.co. So if you guys hit us up in the super chats, we will spin the wheel. That's draftkits.co. If you guys go over to their website, use code DAD25, you'll get 10% off. If you have a super chat tonight, you will be entered to win that. That is a $25 value, or you can apply that towards one of their custom boards, which are absolutely fire. Like, I love their product. It's an incredible product. So let's take a look here at the draft that we actually did. We kind of randomized it. We set it up here. And this is the board that we went with. And the first thing I wanted to ask you, Mark, is when you look at these draft boards, when you look at, how these early drafts have gone, because let's be honest, in 3 weeks, everybody's going to be completely done with their drafts. We finished week 1 of the preseason. What are some quick takeaways, especially from that running back position where you're like, I'm starting to see a trend here in this certain way?
Yeah, one of the first takeaways I see here is that Derrick Henry went ahead of Ashton Jeanty, and that has not been the consensus among most of the fantasy experts I've seen on Twitter. I'm one of those fantasy experts, quote unquote, that ranks Derrick Henry ahead of Ashton Jeanty, because I just don't believe Ashton Jeanty is really going to be more productive than Derrick Henry at the end of the day. Derrick Henry's still on one of the most elite offenses in the NFL, and Ashton Jeanty is a rookie and not on an elite offense. So that's really one of the biggest takeaways I saw from this draft.
Well, and that was even prefaced there. We were going to talk about this, but, do you believe Ashton Jeanty now moved to 12 overall? So when this whole process started, when we really started to, when he went to the Raiders and we started to see where things were going to shake out, he was priced at the RB4 overall, and it's the 7th pick overall. He's moved back. Now he's the 12th overall pick. And Jared, I see you shaking your head. RB6 overall. Do you feel like that's overpriced, underpriced, or appropriately priced? Because when you're drafting him, you're giving up players like Nico Collins, Devon Achane, even Puka Nacua, some guys that are real staples. The tricky part is, and I know you and I kind of got into it a little bit last week, is those running backs, your Ezekiel Elliott's, Saquon Barkley's, Todd Gurley's, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, those guys that go top 10, they've all finished as a top 10 running back by the time it's all said and done, but we're buying them at RB6 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, Jeanty at RB6, for me, really in the first round period is too early. I will not be making that click in the first round. If I really could have it my way, I'd want to get him in the back end of the second round. But I understand, even taking him at the beginning of the second round. And it really just comes down to, it's not a talent issue or anything like that. There's just too many other elite running backs, and I'm a lot more comfortable drafting that have very elite upside. Christian McCaffrey, I get, is, one that in this draft that we did that went after Jeanty, I was pretty surprised. I imagine you were pretty pumped to get him at pick 11 there. I was like, wow, that's a steal. Really just comes down to if McCaffrey can stay healthy. And if he does, I mean, he basically feels like a lock for top 3 running back if he is healthy. So,
yeah, I was pumped to get Christian McCaffrey at 11. I do believe when you play Dynasty, there's that risk averse where you're like, okay, Christian McCaffrey's an injury away from literally falling off a cliff, right? Because he's at that age apex of 28. But I mean, Mark, when you look at Christian McCaffrey, outside of if he was the RB1 overall this year, there's no way we'd be shocked, right? Like outside of Bijan and Gibbs, this is the guy that you want to have. Do you feel like now at 8 overall, RB4, do you feel like he's appropriately priced, overpriced, underpriced? Because it's moving up, but at the same time, every camp clip you see and every time you see Christian McCaffrey look explosive, it's like you remember that, 2019, he was the RB1 and wide receiver 1 combined in one player. You know what I mean? He has 3 of the top 5 fantasy finishes of all time. And then in just 2023, he blew the roof off. So, I mean, do you feel like this RB4 overall is appropriate price for Christian McCaffrey?
I think, like, when you look at his ADP, it's like pick 7 to 9. But, like, I think in real drafts, you will see him fall to, like, the end of the second round. And that's where I am comfortable taking him. If I have the 5th and 6th overall pick, I'm not necessarily comfortable taking Christian McCaffrey there. I think he would have to stay in the back half of the first round for me to be comfortable taking him, just because, he has the injury history and, who knows, it could potentially pop up again in 2025. I don't think it will, but, that's always something to think about. And that's why he's generally one of the more riskier picks in the first round, I would say.
And what I love about, that back half of the first, and now I want to get to you, Jared, here, is what we're really looking at is these trends of the running back position. And one thing that I'm really trying to do is if I'm 1 through, you look at those first couple picks, if I'm drafting 101, I'm taking Jamar Chase and going 2 running backs because I want to go hero wide receiver, and the more that we get into these type of things, if I'm taking 2 and 3, I got no problem taking double running backs, and going really robust running back. If I take CD, Jefferson, same thing, I want a hero. Jared, when I get to that end of that first, I'm playing bully running back all day long. I love drafting from the 11 and 12. You kind of took it here because what I really wanted to do was go McCaffrey and A-Chain because I believe if I do that, that creates just a panic, right? Because now all of a sudden it's like, oh, shoot, dad just took 2 running backs there in that spot. Because I feel like you see some of these guys that have really strong builds, they went running back. The wide receivers this year from 4 through round 7 and 8, like you're getting Chris Olave in the 7th. You're getting Calvin Ridley in the 7th. You're getting Stephon Diggs in the 8th. You're getting wide receiver 1s on their team late. Are you starting to see a lot more of a trend of I don't want to leave a single redraft league without 2 running backs in my first 3 rounds?
Yeah, and normally I'm someone that loves drafting heavy wide receiver at the beginning of drafts, but I have found, especially through doing mock drafts, if I'm in those like last 3 picks in a 12-team league, I absolutely love snagging 2 elite running backs in those first 3 rounds. In this draft, I kind of was going back and forth on what I wanted to do, if I wanted to grab Puka or if I wanted to grab someone else. I'm personally not as worried about the, Matt Stafford situation as everybody else seems to be. And it's understandable. I mean, the guy's not playing. It's a back issue. He's had him for a while, but he's also like one of the toughest NFL quarterbacks there are. And I feel that the team is just playing it extremely safe with him and trying to do everything they can to get him ramped up. But yeah, no, it's very difficult to not take 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, especially with what you said, with how wide receivers run so deep. There's so many guys that I like drafting even through the, first 7 rounds. But once you get to round 7 with a running back, you're looking at guys like, I don't even know, like Tony Pollard. You're looking
like Brian Robinson, Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah. It's just like, they could be good, but I don't feel super great. So I'd rather snag those guys early, at least have 2 starters that I can feel comfortable about, and then stack it up with, PPR monster wide receivers. Plenty of teams have multiple wide receivers that are going to get big volume.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy that you took there, Devon A-Chain, when Tua was on the field, 22.5 fantasy points per game, a guy that is,
RB1.
He was RB1, exactly.
Beast.
Off the field, when Tua was off the field, he was putting up about 8 points a game. And now I've never seen a guy that has this kind of a swing based off of, the quarterback that's been on the field. Yes, there's always that quarterback's going to impact the other running backs, the wide receivers, but I've never seen a swing this far. Devon Achane is someone that I'm super comfortable with being my RB1. But man,
Absolutely.
if I can, like I said, at this back half here, if I can get 2 running backs, him as my RB2, that really beefs it up. But do you feel like RB7 is the appropriate price for Devon Achane?
Yeah, I'm good with the RB7 for Achane because that's very likely at the end of the first round at the very earliest if your league goes real heavy running back. But I would assume most leagues he's falling into the very beginning of the second round. I'll happily click him there all day, every day. He's got such great upside, like you said. And sure, there is, quote, the risk that Tua goes down, and we saw how bad that offense becomes without Tua. I mean, I'm not going to act like that's not on my brain at all, but with a guy with his kind of upside, is kind of like Christian McCaffrey as well. You got to be able to take a risk sometimes. They've got a lead upside. It is what it is. If Tua gets hurt and that's what ends up screwing me over, I'll deal with it. But if he doesn't, you've got a guy that could actually end up RB1. He's got that type of upside, and I'm all in on taking a guy in the second round with that type of action.
Yeah, for sure. And Mark, when you get to the end, like a lot of guys ask me, and I know you've seen a lot of the strategies that I'm throwing out there. Cause I mean, today I did triple RB just to give people ideas, because when I was a basketball player, I was a football player. It's like you get on the field, you have all these practices, you're doing these things because when the game comes, you want to be prepared, right? And when you do these mock drafts and you do different strategies, you try to figure out on the fly how you're going to do yours. When you get to that 11-12 spot, what kind of strategy do you like to go? Do you like to go running back? Do you like to take more of a blended, take a wide receiver and a running back? Because when you get to that end of the first, you are looking at some really sexy players. I mean, a lot of these drafts now have Puka Nakua's down there, McCaffrey. I've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Area, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry. It's a loaded area. Like I literally, if I have the choice in my league, I want pick 11 and 12.
Yeah, exactly. I look at, when I look at the players, like I think there's about 15 to 16 players that I could see being a first round pick. And so if you have the 11th or the 12th pick or even the 10th pick, like you're getting 2 first round values. And, personally, if I was the 12th pick here, I would have went Achane and Nico Collins, but, Achane and Puka still perfectly fine. But it's really awesome to just get a stud running back, Devon Achane, and then get a stud wide receiver, Puka or Nico Collins. That's exactly what I would have done in that scenario, unless if more wide receivers went earlier. But that's the type of strategy I would go for: a top tier running back and then a top tier wide receiver.
Yeah, and what's nice, and PPR and I both did that, is that allows you flexibility. Where a lot of times I'm seeing people say, you know what, there at the end, I want Nico and BTJ, and that's awesome, right? But then what do you get in the third round? In this particular draft, by the time we rolled around to the end of the third, those running backs were starting to get kicked. The second round, to me, and the reason that bully running back or hero wide receiver are so important this year are players that second round is loaded. You're looking at Josh Jacobs is in there. He's a guy, Mark, I know you're super high on, someone that I've written recently where I was like, I'm taking him in round 2 in every single draft I can, because in round 3, you're getting Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Lad McConkey. You're getting bona fide wide receiver ones. Outside of that round 2, I mean, round 2 is London and AJ Brown, and that's about it. Josh Jacobs, though, he gives you that top 5 upside, and you're getting him at overall RB8 at pick 16. Do you think he's overpriced, underpriced, or appropriately priced here?
So I think in this particular draft, he's appropriately priced. But when I look at, ADPs like underdog, he goes as RB11, and that's just way too low for me, especially for a guy that dominated red zone touches, carries. Everyone is trying to figure out who's going to be the Packers wide receiver 1. Well, we know who the Packers RB1 is, and it's Josh Jacobs. And he probably would have been the RB4 overall had he hit the ground running a little bit earlier than week 7. If he hit the ground running in week 3, he probably could have had an RB4 overall finish, and it could have been a different conversation about him this year. But from week 7 on, he averaged 20 points per game and basically a touchdown every game. He's just a guy that, if he's your RB1, I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah, that's this section here is just loaded. I mean, it's Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, who's one of my favorites. Jared, when we look at this round, if you go ahead and you're at that spot, what's the running back that you would want the most here? I mean, you got Bucky Irving, you got Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor. Who's that guy where you're like, you know what? If this is push comes to shove, because in a lot of drafts, you're going to be stuck with all of these guys to choose from, right? Like in an early draft, I could easily see, Bowers goes and then AJ Brown goes and then Drake London. And then there's 5 running backs in a row. Out of these guys, who's your guy?
For me, I really do like Josh Jacobs. I think he's a great pick. I think the Packers really were able to see what he's able to do in the red zone, specifically just getting in there. I think it's hard to find guys that, in my opinion, Josh Jacobs is a lock for 10 plus touchdowns on the season.
Mm-hmm.
And, like Mark was saying, he kind of started off a little bit slow. I remember I traded one of my buddies in a friend league for Josh Jacobs about, I don't know, we'll call it like a third way through the year. And
That's
it
great.
was an incredible trade. It sent me. I definitely made the playoffs. I don't remember what ended. I think maybe that was a league where Cooper Kupp ended up screwing me over. But Josh Jacobs is definitely a top one. In round 2, I mean, I've seen Derrick Henry fall to round 2 a decent amount, which shocks me. I will draft him every single time if he's available in round 2. And then outside of that, I love Bucky. I love Chase Brown. I personally lean Chase Brown just because of the offense he's on. It seems pretty clear based on their running back room that he's going to be the 100% Mr. Give it to him all the time. He can catch passes. He's a solid runner, and he's got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins surrounding him, distracting the defense. I don't know how you could be set up any better than that. He's like he's like a little mini Austin Eckler in my mind maybe this year, where he's going to get fed the ball and he's going to have plenty of scoring opportunities. So I love that every single time.
That was something that I posted out there, because that's when I saw him run, I was like, dang, this is like an Austin Eckler type player, explosive, top 5 running back down the stretch. You mentioned, some of these guys are falling. I mean, I think in our particular draft, you're going to see a lot of my own personal bias in there, because they're guys that are in the Discord, guys that are paying for the services and kind of coming up with those things. But I think Chase Brown, his Fantasy Pros ADP makes no sense. It's in the 3rd round. Let's just be honest. You're not getting him in the 3rd round. I've seen a couple drafts and people, I'm so jealous, because they've started out with Jamar Chase and then they get, they'll get a guy like Josh Jacobs and then they'll literally get Chase Brown in the 3rd. And I'm like, that's just, go lock it up. You win it all. But I mean, this is a guy that they're talking about his entire offense is going to revolve around him. They're a team that has a horrible defense. He's an elite level pass catcher. This is one of the biggest steals, if not the biggest steal, at what Fantasy Pros has written. What we're talking about on Twitter, and if you see almost every thread I put out there, he's round 2 now. Like I would be comfortable. Mark, I'm going to hit you up here real quick. I'm going to mention guys in round 2. You tell me Chase Brown or this guy. You ready? So smash or pass. Smash means you take Chase Brown. Pass means you take the other guy. We'll go Jonathan Taylor.
Chase Brown easily.
And that's crazy to most people, right? Because Jonathan Taylor is a household name in most of your redraft leagues. You have to understand it's not like Dynasty where you've been diving into this the whole time. What about Bucky Irving?
Chase Brown slightly, because they're both right next to each other in my rankings. Yeah.
And I think Bucky's like right there. Kyren Williams is the next guy that's like right in that same area. I know, Jared, you had him on there as one of your guys who's severely underpriced. I mean, we talk about Kyren Williams is someone that he's number 1 in the NFL in touchdowns over the last 2 years, which blows my mind. He scores almost a touchdown. I think it's 1.02 touchdowns per game over the last 18 games. That's insane. Like he's putting up and then last year it was Blake Corum, right? And you can throw some shade at me, because I was one of the guys that said Kyren's not disappearing, but Blake Corum's going to cut into it. Now this year everybody says, well, Jarquez Hunter's that guy. We're going to jump in, and now you see Blake Corum's now apparently in the lead for that RB2. None of it matters. Kyren's the guy. Kyren's going to score 15 touchdowns again. He's going to be a guy that's going to put up RB1 numbers. Do you think here in the 3rd round that he is one of the biggest steals in the early part of the draft?
Oh yeah, I think he's a phenomenal round 3 pick. Like you said, he's an absolute red zone monster. Assuming Matt's now, of course, everyone's going to say, "Well, Matt Stafford's hurt. Can we count on him being in there?" Because I do think he's a big factor in making that offense run really well. And when he's healthy, it's kind of the same type of a situation, although Joe Burrow is, at this stage in their career, definitely more elite than Matt Stafford. But Stafford knows how to get the ball to his wide receivers. He knows how to get them in scoring opportunities. And Kyren is clearly the guy that McVay trusts to get the ball. And Kyren's capitalized many, 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 many times. I'll bet anytime touchdown on Kyren Williams every single week and feel great about myself every single time.
Last year, I do that post where I do my locks for touchdowns. I put him and Derrick Henry on every week because it's like
easily.
And I think this Matthew Stafford back injury has really created a value for both Puka Nacua and Kyren Williams and even Devontae Adams. I mean, like those guys are on round 2, 3, and 4. There's a real world scenario where Kyren's top 10, Puka's top 10, and Devontae's top 15. Like that is in that range of outcomes. Like I think that is something that could really happen. We're talking about in that same area, Mark. You talked about Jonathan Taylor already. Chase Brown, to most people, is behind Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has had monster seasons. He's had some struggled time where he can't stay healthy. And now we don't know if it's going to be Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. I personally think Jonathan Taylor is better with Anthony Richardson than he would be with Daniel Jones. But overall, 20th as the RB9. You think that's over, under, or appropriately priced for Jonathan Taylor here in the middle of the second round?
So Jonathan Taylor, for me, he's like my RB11, RB12. So, he's still a low-end RB1 for me, so it's not too overpriced, but Jonathan Taylor is just not someone I'm targeting. Like, when I looked at the draft board, like, I reached significantly for Chase Brown because I like him a lot more than Jonathan Taylor, and then the person who had the second overall pick, wanted to go double running back, and his only choice was Jonathan Taylor or Kyren Williams. And to me, Jonathan Taylor, it's not really a question of how many rushing yards he's going to get because I think he's going to be a 1,000-yard rusher. It's really just the PPR upside. He doesn't get a lot of receptions or a lot of receiving yards, and guys like Chase Brown, I know for a fact will get more. So I just think the upside is a little bit lower with Jonathan Taylor. Also considering that the Colts offense to me is just not an offense that I think is particularly high scoring. And I think running backs in general tend to be a little more reliant on the type of offenses that they're on. So it's really, for me, just getting the running backs that are on, lucrative offenses with touchdowns. And Kyren Williams is one of those guys. Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Like, it's those guys I want on my fantasy team as opposed to a guy who's not going to score as many touchdowns. And I think Jonathan Taylor is a candidate for that.
I like that a lot. Hey, a lot of guys have been chiming in here in the chat. The best way to get in is through the super chats, but we're going to hit up some of your questions because, we got guys like Neil on here. He says, make sure you guys smash that like button. We are just 10 away from 5,000 subs. If you guys like it, if you guys hit that subscribe button, that helps us out a lot. Al's another guy that's in the Discord. Al Kalo, make sure you guys follow him. Super smart guy, incredibly sharp-minded when it comes to Dynasty. We've brought these guys on really to talk redraft, and really we've created a room in there. And Jared, you just started this week, and just kind of, they don't even know you're in there. You're just in there trying to observe. So tell me, right now, patreon.com/smashaccept. Use code PPR. That's PPR tips. You get 25% off your yearly subs. Right now, that ends up being, $18 for the base level, which is pretty awesome, like for an entire year. Tell me some of the things that you saw in there, because I know what I wanted it to be, and I know you guys have been in there. So tell me a couple things that you noticed, and I'll kick it over to you, Mark, too, because you're answering questions in there 24/7.
I mean,
go ahead, Jerry.
For me, I just thought it was awesome. You guys have built a great community. There's obviously a lot of people that like to participate in conversation, ask questions. You got guys that are hopping on your videos, asking questions, keeping things fun, keeping things light. There's nothing more that I like. That's why I started, posting on Twitter in the first place, was just to answer questions, help people out, have some fun, and hopefully, win some leagues. So, I mean, I don't think there's really too many like offers out there of what you just described for that kind of a price for an entire year of access, all the information you provide in there. I think it's a really great value, and given 25% off for a yearly sub, I mean, I think that's really as good of a bang for your buck as you're going to find in anything fantasy related at all. And it takes a lot of time. So I know everyone definitely appreciates, any kind of support you can throw out, views, whatever it is. But, just like anybody, we got families to feed, y'all.
Yeah. And, that was what I think you and I, we have one of the longest friendships on Twitter is we've just drawn to each other because we're answering questions for everybody. And Mark, you're someone that also rather new to the space, but at the same time saw that same kind of passion where you really want to answer questions. And I mean, you're starting to see some of how active it is there. I messaged right now, you guys, if you guys get into VIP, I have like a 4-hour guaranteed response time. But last week I told some of the guys, I'll guarantee everyone will be 24 hours, but if you're in the VIP, it's 4 hours. I answered 871 DMs last week. I literally was just trying to catch up. I was like, and the guys are just like, Dad, keep grinding. And I love it because what I'm trying to do, I want to help you guys win. And you're doing that same thing. You have your own room in there. And tell me a little bit about what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I get asked a lot of Dynasty questions and not a lot of redraft questions. I play a little bit of Dynasty, but my specialty is more redraft. So I'm trying my best to answer everyone's questions, really trying, but I really love the community. I like that people are asking me questions and, trusting what I say. And it's just really awesome. Like, you really can't ask for a better fantasy football community than the Smash Accept Discord.
It's a lot to put in there. Hey, Daniel, Speaking of trying to pronounce it, Bakagalupo. Hopefully I didn't butcher that, but I'm gonna throw this first one to you, Mark, because you said you didn't get a lot of redraft questions lately. What would you guys do? Devon Achane as a 5th round keeper or Bucky as a 10th round keeper? I've been getting so many keeper questions, and some of them, I mean, the one I just got, I'll get to in a minute, that I want to throw to you, Jared, because it was the most difficult one I've ever answered. But okay. I'm going to start with you on Mark this one. 5th round for Achane or Bucky all the way in round 10?
Achane is a 5th round keeper. That's pretty crazy. I don't know how you got Achane in the 5th round, but that is this a keeper over a couple of years? I don't know, but
maybe.
I would just look at it as a 1-year keeper, because that's where keeper's like a gateway drug to Dynasty, right? You just let's keep a couple of guys. And someone messaged me the other day. They're like, I have a 7-person keeper. I'm like, play Dynasty. Just stop. Like a 7-person keeper. Like, bro,
7-person.
It's
basically Dynasty at that point.
I think what's tricky here is like what I always try to do when I get a keeper question is I look at Devon Achane right now is a late 1st, early 2nd. That's a 4-round gap to the 5th round. Bucky is a mid-2nd. That's an 8-round gap. As hard as it is, I have to lean Bucky here. I feel like it's hard to not say Devon Achane. And Jared, the question that I got, and this one rattled my brain, is Bucky in the 14th, Achane in the 7th, or Gibbs in the late 2nd? Try to say cut Jahmyr Gibbs, but because that's what the answer is, but I couldn't do it.
Man, and you said you picked 2?
You got to pick 2 out of there. Like Bucky in the 14th. The 14th round is like you're taking you're going out there and you're just taking a wild swing on a backup rookie running back. So I thought Bucky had to be the guy at 14, but then it's like Achane in the 7th or Gibbs in the 2nd.
Achane. That's a pretty easy one.
Oh man,
that's what I said. But like the principle of cutting Jahmyr Gibbs blows my mind.
Yeah, you just gotta hope you get him first.
I might actually take the route less traveled by, and I think all 3 of those are really great values. I'm also, you got to keep in mind, I'm an Alabama grad, so I've got a little Bama bias in my blood, and I tend to stick to that. So I'm not going to lie, 2nd round Gibbs, I think I'm taking that because he's got RB1 upside. I get that you're losing like a big value 100%, and I wouldn't blame a single person for taking Bucky at that round or Achane at that round. I would probably end up going Gibbs as well as Achane because I think they both have overall RB1 upside. Although I love Bucky and I think he's going to be an absolute beast, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he finishes a top 12 running back. I also think that there's the chance that he could be like, like RB 15, 14, 13. Only reason I say that is because there's a ton of really talented running backs. And really it just comes down to, in most years, how many of these stud running backs, wide receivers, whenever you're looking at any of the ADP, it's like, how many of these guys are going to have injuries that really kind of bump them down the ranks? And people typically, when they're looking at stats from the previous year, they forget, oh, well, there was actually 6 really good running backs that got hurt last year that aren't being taken into account. And now those guys are back. So unless you think they're falling off and you don't believe in them, I'm like, there's a bunch of guys that could beat out these studs from last year. It takes nothing away from them. It just means you've got a more stacked, group of guys that you're choosing from. So I think I would just lock in Gibbs, lock in Achane, but it would definitely be painful, letting go Bucky. And what I think you said round 14.
The 14th, yeah.
I think you just changed my mind, honestly.
I mean, people say league winners. That is a league winner when you draft him in round 14. That's an incredible value. So good for that guy.
I think my mind was just changed. You kind of convinced me. Gibbs and Achane for me.
There you go. Hey, you mentioned that Bucky could finish in that RB 13 to 15 range. Someone that was top 5 last year. Obviously it's going to be very difficult to replicate the amount of touchdowns. I mean, James Cook went from 2 touchdowns to a 15 plus, and just exploded. Now we see, Ray Davis is used almost exclusively in the red zone packages that they have at camp. He's a guy that you have as overpriced right now, despite the fact that he finished RB5. Now he's going RB 13 the year after.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some data. We could dive into the weeds of why I think that he is an overvalued, overpriced guy. It really comes down to, I just don't get good vibes from it. He's doing this like hold-in thing. I think he's asking for way too much money. It just feels like, I'm all for guys getting paid. I totally get it. But I'm like, you're trying to get paid like you're a top 5 running back in the league. Like, no, you just got put in a phenomenal positioning by Josh Allen and that offense, and good for him. It's like the same argument when people say Kyren's inefficient. And I'm like, well, he's in the red zone all the time and he's going to get a lot of touchdown opportunities. Totally get that you could make that argument about James Cook if you're a believer. But for me, a guy that put up 18 touchdowns, and I believe he had never scored more than, I want to say he had 16 rushing touchdowns last year. And in the previous 2 seasons, he had 2. So
yeah, that's what it was.
I'm just like, if this guy is like truly that much of a stud, I just don't feel like it would have been a 2 touchdown thing in the previous years. I think this contract situation is going to make the Buffalo Bills give Ray Davis a little bit more of a look, see what they got. It's a much cheaper option for them if he can do the same kind of production, or even half of that production. I mean, it's not like James Cook's not going to be good. I still think he's going to be like a solid guy. If he's getting touches like he was last year, even if he loses some red zone touches, he can still be a very good fantasy running back. But I'm not going to be drafting him, as a top 13 guy. There's just other guys that I feel better about, and that also have, better pass catching, a little less sketchiness about them. Yeah,
and I get it. And Ray Davis is someone I preach insurance running backs. I don't call them handcuffs. I call them insurance running backs because they're like lottery tickets. You got that insurance there. Ray Davis is a league winner. Like rounds 10 through 15, I'm getting Ray Davis everywhere I can. Mark, if you're on the board and you got to choose between James Cook or Kenneth Walker right now, who are you taking? I'm gonna push it here because I know this is a guy that you like a lot. He's got that RB16 price tag. This is where you look at RB13 to 16, all go in that similar area. They're going, early 4th round, late 3rd round. I have my guy that I like here. Jared has his guy. I want to talk about your guy here, Kenneth Walker.
So Kenneth Walker, it really just comes down to the simple fact that, like, the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, is saying that Kenneth Walker is going to be a big part of the offense. And, we can interpret what exactly that means, but to me, that means lots of carries, just lots of opportunities. And Kenneth Walker really stepped up as a receiver last year. And I do think, although Sam Darnold is a downgrade from Geno Smith, I still think Sam Darnold's going to be good enough to check the ball down to Kenneth Walker. And if Clint Kubiak is saying he's going to be a big part of the offense, speaking about Kenneth Walker, then I think Kenneth Walker's due to get a lot of rushing and a lot of receiving opportunity. And, Kenneth Walker is just one of the best running backs in the league at evading tackles. He was top 5 in juke rate. Like, he's a crafty running back, and I think he has a lot of upside that I think people could potentially be ignoring. Plus, he was RB12 on a points per game basis in 2024. So he really just has to stay healthy for an entire season, which might be a big ask. But I still think, he's worth a pick.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet, but if he puts it all together, again, talking about insurance level running backs, the number 1 insurance running back in all of fantasy football is Zach Charbonnet. Like Zach Charbonnet in the Kenneth Walker role with Kenneth Walker out of the picture. I mean, he put up 40 in a game last year, and he put up multiple 20 points. I mean, he's the guy that you need to get. He's someone that I would, rather than roster clogging wide receiver 7, 8, 9, I'm taking a guy like that. There's a guy that you sniped me on, and we got to the draft. I took George Kittle away from you guys. George Kittle, the ADP says round 4. Guess what? You're not getting him in round 4 anywhere. You better take him the end of round 3. George Kittle is a league winner. Those 49ers have nothing else. They're talking about Ricky Pearsall as the wide receiver 1 right now. George Kittle's going to have a monster year. And then I was hoping on the way back. I was just sitting there, and I was like, all right, I'm going to take Kittle here. When he got Rashee Rice, who I'm going to do a thread this week about drafting him if he gets a 2-game suspension. You're stealing him. But you stole Alvin Kamara right from underneath me, man. You made me take a quarterback in the 4th round, which I don't like doing. But Alvin Kamara, he has finished as a top 12 running back every single year. That's RB16, not 36. But he's going as RB16 now. I mean, help me out here. Why is he RB16?
I mean, I every year people decide that they're going to act like Alvin Kamara is washed up. They're going to be, the Saints suck. He's not going to be able to do anything.
Oh, they do.
Your quarterback. No, sure. But they use these excuses for why Alvin Kamara isn't going to be good. It's either his age, it's his injury, inability to stay healthy. It's, they brought in this guy. There's always some sort of excuse. And I know Snoog would respect me standing up for his guy, Alvin. I mean, I will draft him there all day, every day. He's one of the greatest receiving, pass catching running backs that you can possibly get in fantasy football. If you're playing in a PPR league, that is a cheat code. Sure, if he misses 3 games, guess what? I'm good with it. Guess you should be drafting to have some depth. You have to have guys that can step in. What are you going to do in a bye week? The same thing. As long as these guys don't get hurt and miss, 6 games, 5 games, more than that. Of course, that sucks. But that is the risk you run with any player in the NFL. These are like modern day gladiators running into each other at full speed. They're like the most athletic, strong guys you're going to ever see in general. No crap. These guys could get hurt. But Alvin Kamara has incredible upside. And the fact that he is undervalued every single year, I end up drafting him in almost every single league that I'm in, whether it's best ball, whether it's redraft. I love it. And that's what actually makes me sometimes not draft a running back in the 2nd round. Cause I'm like, I'm going to get Alvin Kamara. Nobody's they leave him there every single time. I don't get it. I really don't.
Since 2017, he's been RB4, RB8, RB1, RB5, RB13, RB3, and RB5. And you're getting him at RB16 and everybody's like, well, maybe some of the efficiency went down. Maybe, some of last year. Okay. And I don't like to pull out a lot of stats, but the top correlative stats for predicting fantasy success, fantasy points per game, he was 5th. Receiving yards per game, he was 2nd. Receptions, 2nd. Most routes run, 2nd. Yards per route run, 1st. If you look at the correlation between fantasy points and running back production, those are the top 5. And he literally was top 5 in all of them. And now we're just like, nah, go ahead. Let's just throw him to the wolves. Let somebody else take him. I would love at the end of this 3-4 wrap, if I took Nico Collins in the 1st, I got Devon Achane in the 2nd. If I could get Alvin Kamara and mix, his stable floor with this next guy. I know we talk about Ashton Jeanty's value, and you guys did not like that. And I have no problem with that. Amarion Hampton's value, though, at RB17 is juicy. It's ripe. Yeah. He is in. I know they just lost Slater, but last year they had a top 5 offensive line for the run game, and they made J.K. Dobbins look fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think this Chargers offensive line is what's going to make it happen. Omarion Hampton in a Greg Roman offense has never had below 11th in overall touches. Najee Harris is walking around the track right now. He is not doing anything even football related. I mean, Mark, I'm the rookie guy. You know, I'm throwing out tons of things I love RJ Harvey. I love Omarion Hampton. I love some of the upside. We're going to talk about Travion Henderson as well. Is this the appropriate price for Omarion Hampton? Because I'm seeing him right now in a lot of mock drafts going in the mid-third. Fantasy Pros still has him in that 4th round range, and I think he's a steal at this point.
He should be a 3rd round pick. I know you just mentioned the loss of Slater on this offensive line, but it's not like this offensive line is going to go from being a top 5, top 10 to being a bottom 5, bottom 10. Like, I still think they'll be very good. And Omarion Hampton, to me, is just one of those prospects that is going to be good enough to be fantasy productive, and especially on this Chargers offense where they're going to run the ball. And we also know Najee Harris. Well, we actually don't know the status of Najee Harris. Do we know he has 2 eyes? We really can't confirm that. He's walking around with glasses and a sweatshirt on in Los Angeles.
I don't understand. After Jason Pierre-Paul, how does anybody that's in the NFL play with fireworks? Like, it's like when the guys get DUIs and I'm like, you could just pay someone to drive you. Like, what are you possibly thinking? Don't mess with fireworks, kids. All right. That's my dad quote of the day. Dynasty dad says, stay away from fireworks. But, speaking of fireworks, you were talking about Hampton there. Henderson's ADP is going bananas, right? Like, I had people that I really respect in the industry have moved him from, at this point, and they have not corrected their ADP yet, at 58 overall at RB23. Jared, I see guys that I really respect saying top 12 running back. And we have to realize that he is the Jahmyr Gibbs type running back. He's a little bit undersized. He's explosive. He ran 21.3 miles per hour on that kickoff return.
Yeah, crazy.
Ramondre Stevenson didn't die, though. He had some fumble issues. But, you remember Jahmyr Gibbs' rookie year, we were screaming at the television, give him the ball more, give him the ball more, give him the ball more. I have a lot of people in Dynasty saying Henderson should be over Hampton. Out of these 2 rookies, who do you prefer right now? And then break down that Patriots situation, because I know Ramondre Stevenson's a guy that you think right now is appropriately priced.
Yeah. For me, I'm definitely Hampton over Henderson. I think that really just comes down to I've got more faith in the Chargers offense. I like Justin Herbert more than I like Drake May. Like you said, Ramondre Stevenson, he didn't disappear. Now, I used to, really cheer for him to have a comeback. I'm kind of off that. That's why I feel like he's appropriately priced at this point. I believe he's going in about round 9, RB 36. He's typically finished as somewhere around like RB 30-ish, if I'm remembering right, in his couple of previous seasons. I definitely think he's not going to finish that high unless Henderson would get hurt. But, that's me knocking on wood, what you just heard there. He's got
to check the door.
And honestly, you touched my heart a little bit with Henderson, because I haven't been as high on him as a lot of people have in general, I would say. Obviously, it's hard to deny the spark that he creates on the field after watching him, take back a kick return in his first preseason game. That's pretty crazy. And I do think if he ends up getting significant volume, if he ends up having that Jahmyr Gibbs type role, and I don't expect Stevenson to be pulling a David Montgomery either. So, it's not like I feel like it's even an even thing. He would have a larger role than what Gibbs does. Now, the difference being for me is those are 2 completely different offenses as far as like the upside
100%
available. So really my only worry about Henderson and his ADP is that it's the Patriots. That's really my main concern. I think I'm not sold that Drake May in this year is going to turn it up and make that offense do some crazy stuff. I think they're going to have to throw a lot. Now that could work in Henderson's favor, because I do think he's going to be for sure their go-to pass catching running back. And that's great for PPR leagues. But, don't they have Antonio Gibson on that roster as well? I know that's not some popular name, but it's kind of weird how many guys they have in that running back room if they're not planning on kind of shifting out touches. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a gross running back by committee. Remember Bijan his rookie year where everybody was pissed off that Arthur Smith wouldn't give him the ball?
Oh yeah.
I don't know that it's going to be to that level, but I just get a little bit nervous. There's, I think my guy James Conner gets drafted after Henderson.
I'm glad.
Sure.
That's where I was going next is you and I love James Conner, like literally, I think you have a James Conner tattoo somewhere we can talk about later. Because anytime I post about Conner, you comment. Mark, you have him also as underpriced, and I think if you're at this spot and you're sitting there in the 4th round and you got to choose between the ceiling of TreVeyon Henderson or the floor of James Conner, how do you go about making that decision? I mean, do your first 3 picks change the way you think about that? Are you a guy that, do you play ceiling versus floor because of, what you're going to do with the next couple of picks? How do you do that? Like, that's where people ask me that in redraft all the time. They're like, Dad, you always talk about playing upside. And I do, but I think you can lose your draft early if you play way too much upside and you try to gamble.
Yeah. I think the flip side coin to like upside case is like, how likely is the player going to hit that upside? Like, we know James Conner is going to be the workhorse running back on the Cardinals offense. And, I still think the Cardinals offense is better than the Patriots offense. And, that goes back to my point. I think running backs tend to rely on the type of offense that they're on, because generally to be an RB1, you need to be very towards the top in touchdowns. And I'm not saying James Conner is going to be an RB1 overall, but, we've seen James Conner time and time again be like RB14 to RB16 in points per game. And I'm just not sure if TreVeyon Henderson's actually going to hit that. Like, we know he's going to get the pass catching role. It's just,
touchdowns.
Touchdowns is a big thing. And like, we just don't know if he's actually going to be the workhorse running back. Like, this could be a running back by committee, like Jared said. And, with James Conner, you just know you're getting the workhorse. So for me, I'm still on the James Conner over TreVeyon Henderson, but I do like TreVeyon Henderson as a pass-catching running back. He's kind of in that RJ Harvey range for me, and I do like both of those guys.
Yeah, and I think Harvey really everybody was kind of getting a big deal saying, oh, he's 5th on the depth chart. Well, he's 5th on the depth chart because that's what Sean Payton does. But he comes out and he out-touches Dobbins 8-1. I love me some RJ Harvey. I think you gotta balance this. You gotta balance your elite level. If I have a Jahmyr Gibbs in my 1st round and I take a Chase Brown, I have no problem taking a James Conner because you have 2 elite upside and then you play the floor of another guy, as opposed to if I take lower ceiling type players, then I might take that home run swing on a TreVeyon Henderson. We got a couple guys here where once you get to your draft and Jared, I look at this and I'm like, oh man, like after you get past, after you get past James Conner here in the 5th round, you're looking at that 6th round. I love Aaron Jones, but Jordan Mason's there. DeAndre Swift is always a top 20 running back when he's on the field. Tony Pollard's in there, Caleb Johnson, Joe Mixon, who's on that non-football injury list. Yep. If you got to take a guy here, you got to take a swing in round 6. Who's the guy for you?
Round 6, I'm probably looking at it. Well, number one, it would definitely depend on what my running backs looked like on my roster within that draft. Tony Pollard's a guy I like. I think, with Tajay Spears getting hurt, I think that's going to really unlock a little bit more volume, although I think either way, Tony Pollard was going to get plenty of volume. I know Tajay balled out when he got some elite volume at the end of the year, and that was awesome to see. But I think ideally the team does not want to feed him that kind of volume. My main thing with the tight ends is that Will Levis is no longer the starting quarterback.
Yay! All right, it's finally done.
Respectfully,
Calvin
I was
Ridley
hoping
to the
he would
moon.
do well. Yeah, I was hoping he would do well, but it doesn't. That clearly was not the case. He's out here wasting my Alabama Calvin Ridley, wasting one of his seasons. Calvin did a little bit on his own with some stupid decisions, but the guy's an absolute stud. I think you're going to have Calvin Ridley get a boost. You're going to have Tony Pollard get a boost. I kind of think Tyler Lockett could end up being a little bit better than everybody's expecting. I think it was just his time. His time was just done in Seattle. I still think a rookie quarterback like Cam Ward could elevate this offense, and having a good veteran there is going to help, and it's going to hopefully give Tony Pollard some more, red zone opportunities. He can pass catch as well, so he's got that in his bag. And with Tajay Spears out, it's going to just elevate that even more. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 12 to 14 fantasy points a game, which to me at that point in the draft, that's a pretty solid pick. And that's a guy where, if you have your RB1 go down, you can stick him in there and, you don't feel amazing, but you're like, okay, like he can hold down the fort. So I like Tony Pollard. I think he's underpriced right now. And I'd happily pick him there if I needed a running back depth at that point in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Ian Harditz's page earlier, and when you look at yards after contact per carry, he was number 1 in 2019, number 5 in 2020, number 5 in 2021, number 1 in 2022, leaves Dallas. And last year he was number 6, and I think people don't look at that. I was at a Tennessee game. He looked explosive. I got a question for you, though. You're going to go back in a time machine here, PPR.
All right.
And I'm going to give you the choice of you have to start in your favorite home league. You have to start Will Levis for every game eat an entire jar of mayo.
Oh, man, I think mayo is disgusting, but
so do I, man. He puts it in his coffee, so we got to go there.
Oh, no.
That's
like an impossible question because, I'm not going to, I got to win my,
you don't want to lose.
Fantasy league. So I think I've just got to suck it up and put down some mayo. Yeah.
And I not to go down a rabbit hole, but something really my mind starts when someone talks about world records and stuff like that. When it was the Joey Chestnut was winning the hot dog eating contest, the record for most jars of mayonnaise, not amount 5 jars in 10 minutes. Like who is eating it straight up like ice cream? Sorry, didn't mean to get off topic there, but that's don't mess with people's ice cream.
Just put it in the freezer, then you'll really get the consistency.
Oh, that'll be so much better. I want to talk about that similar type area. Mark, there's a couple of running backs here that I know this wasn't 100% on the show sheet, but I got to get your take here on Quinshon Judkins. Like I have a lot of people that are messaging me. They're like, I can't believe he's fallen to the 10th round. And there's other people like, he could be suspended the entire season. Like, what is your thought process on suspended players, in particular Quinshon Judkins? Because you look at Rashee Rice is probably going to get 2 to 4 games. We already know Jordan Addison has 3 games. We have no idea what Quinshon Judkins is even going to be. I have him on a complete do not draft list. Like I'm not touching Quinshon Judkins in Dynasty. If I'm rebuilding, give me an opportunity here. But what do you feel about first suspended players and then potential of Quinshon Judkins as, a late 10th to 12th round running back?
Yeah, I'm just not touching him. Don't draft him. The difference with him is that he's a rookie and he's not even signed to the team yet. Like, so as far as we know, he's not even a member of the Cleveland Browns. So why are you going to draft a player who's technically a free agent or, could just end up going back to college? I don't know how that works, but I'm not drafting him. Like I'll draft almost every other running back on this board over Quinshon Judkins, that the running backs that went after him. So because we know they're going to play, like we just don't know if Quinshon Judkins is going to play. The Browns also drafted Dylan Sampson. So it's like, they have another rookie running back that can also be a good running back. So
we're going to go a little bit quick hitter here because we're getting towards the end of the show. PPR, you going Tyrone Tracy or Cam Scatterbo in the ambiguous situation this year?
Oh, man.
Or are you going back to the Mayo? We can do the Mayo if you want.
I'm probably chugging Mayo again. No, I mean, if I had to pick, based on some stuff that I've read in camp, I think eventually Scat is the guy that I would want. So, if it's like Dynasty, I'm going Scat for sure. I'm in redraft. Honestly, you're not going to see me touching that backfield at all. I'd rather draft my 7th wide receiver than draft someone in that backfield. I'm just not interested. I don't think it's going to be a good opportunity unless one of them gets hurt. That could open up a little something if there's some significant time missed. But in general, I am just out on Tyrone Tracy. I'm out on Cam. In redraft, if you force me to pick, I would pick Tyrone Tracy for redraft because I think at least to start the year off, he's going to be the guy, and I would hope that he had 1 or 2 good games, and I would flip him to one of my, league mates that gets excited about that kind of stuff.
Mark, I know Jared had him on here. Javonte Williams, are you taking any Cowboys running back? So you're going to take a shot on Jadon Blue. You're going to take a round 16, 17 on Miles, or you're going to take a round 11 on Javonte Williams, or you're just hoping and praying that Breece Hall gets traded to the Cowboys because that is in the rumor mill. Let Braylon Allen be like low key Derrick Henry and kind of get that going. But is this, when it comes to ambiguous situations like this Cowboys running back room, you going to take a shot on a guy like Javonte Williams?
Depends where he's going, but honestly, no, because like I looked at Vegas projections and Vegas projects Dallas to be like one of the most pass heavy offenses in the NFL. And, I'm just going to go to them and say they probably know something that I just don't. So give me, all the pass catchers and the quarterback Dak Prescott on that team. I'm not taking any running back on that team.
And we got a question here. Looks like he's saying it for PPR or his league's PPR, but either way, we got it. PPR, 3 wide receivers in the 7th. Who you taking between, it looks like, Robinson, Pacheco, Olave, Addison, Egbuka, Golden, Diggs, Purcell, or Nix? That's basically anybody in that range. In a vacuum, because obviously through 6 rounds would be like, oh, I have this, I have that. It's a start 3 wide receiver. If possessed with this particular question, who would you take?
Yeah, I'm going Stephon Diggs pretty easily there for me. I think, I wasn't talking super highly on Drake May, but I do think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's a good upgrade for that team. And I think Stephon Diggs is exactly what the young guy needed. He's going to just get absolutely peppered. I'll take the risk on him, quote, like, because he's old and might get hurt, whatever. I'm the king of taking risk on guys like that. I'll take the value on those guys all day. I'll have my entire team be 28 and older. I don't care.
I know he loves Keenan Allen. He was tweeting about it for weeks.
I like Keenan.
I love that.
The wide receiver 2 for the Chargers. Justin Herbert's got great chemistry. Trey Harris can't catch the ball, and QJ, he's going to be a deep ball guy. Even if Trey Harris is in there, it's going to be him and QJ just battling for touches, and Keenan Allen is just going to be the perfect little safety blanket. He's going to be like Matt Stafford with Cooper Kupp. Like, that is Justin Herbert's Cooper Kupp is Keenan Allen. So yeah. I absolutely love that he's back. Sorry, I had to go on a little rant there about Keenan.
Hey, you got to get in there. You got to show that passion. You know what I mean? Hey, Mark, this is a question here. Jake Rangier, 5203. I know in Dynasty, I have these guys pretty much in the same tier. I favor Rome over all of them just for the overall upside. But let's talk redraft. These guys are all going in that 6th, 7th round range. Do you have a guy out of these 3 that you're hitting that smash accept button?
I'm hitting the smash accept button on George Pickens here. I really like the upside shot with him. I'm just going off of the assumption that Rashee Rice is only going to get a 2 to 4 game suspension. And I think after that, Xavier Worthy is just not going to be as relevant as Rashee Rice will be. And I think George Pickens, he's going to be a very solid wide receiver too. And he's ranked like that in my rankings. I got him at like wide receiver 21 or so. Like, I think he's going to be that good this year.
I love it. Hey, it's been honestly a blast. I want to do 2 things here. I was like, I know you have your own podcast as well here, Mark. So I want you to share where people can find your work, on Twitter, what else you're working on, a little bit of a plug here. And then at the end, I want you to give me one running back who's just a sleeper that you're trying to get in every single draft, somebody that we haven't brought up, someone that goes a little bit later. And then Jared, you get to sit back and relax a little bit because the same thing's coming your way. So go ahead, Mark. It's been a pleasure to honestly, we talked on the phone. We've been kind of having some back and forth, but it's been a pleasure to get you, on the show and kind of chop it up here with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Really enjoyed it. But you can find me at gbergff on Twitter. It should be my display name on the YouTube channel. And you can find my podcast. It's called Blitz Banter Fantasy with a Z, Blitz Banter Fantasy. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on a lot of podcast platforms, so you can find us there. And then a late round running back sleeper. I mean, I took him in this draft. I'm actually really liking Isaiah Pacheco. And people forget just in 2023, he was the RB15 on a points per game basis. And I think he can do it again. And you're going to get potentially that type of value in the 7th round. So give me Isaiah Pacheco.
I like that. And, my man PPR Tips. This is your second show. You're like an experienced veteran. Like you have the second out of all three of us, you have the second most experience being on this podcast. You know,
Let's go.
I'm almost 400 pods in. We're almost next week. We will celebrate episode 400, which is going to be really awesome.
Awesome.
But you're on episode 2, so I mean, it was a pleasure chopping it up with you again. Tell everybody where they can find you, and give me one of your sleepers.
Yeah, find me on Twitter. It's PPR Fantasy Tips. I'm always, happy to answer questions, help people out. Really, the goal is just to have some fun. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments. Just give me a little reasoning. Don't do the troll stuff. That's kind of annoying. But PPR Fantasy Tips on Twitter. I did create an Instagram page and trying to kind of getting that going. I don't post on it even remotely as regular as I do with Twitter, but I am trying to kind of do both. So if you'd like to support, I would appreciate it. It's PPR Fantasy Tips on Instagram as well. And yeah, I mean, my sleeper pick, I'd probably say this isn't a deep sleeper, but I would say I love drafting David Montgomery. I think he's like a 5th or a 6th round pick right now. I hate to even bring this up at all, but if Gibbs were to go down, Montgomery is like to the absolute moon with his value. So I love him I would start Gibbs and Monty at the exact same time. That's how much I like both of them. So I would be looking for him. And then Charb is probably another one real late in drafts. Charbonnet. I wish Rashad White wasn't hurt because I would have said him. I think he's an incredible handcuff as well. But yeah, appreciate you letting me come on the show. Really exciting that you guys are almost at 400, and hopefully I'll get to come back on for many, many more.
Absolutely. And guys, make sure you guys check out the Smash Accept Patreon, patreon.com/SmashAccept. You put in code PPR, it's getting you 25% off either the $5, $10, or $20. Use that 21. You're going to be saving some bank, So guys, last time we're really trying to get in on that. Some late sleepers. I mean, you guys know I'm big on the insurance running backs. I mean, give me some Jalen Wright, some Braylon Allen. Honestly, I'm starting to really get excited about Jackery Crossgate Merritt. Like, I think he's going to be someone that Austin Eckler has not been healthy for a long time. Brian Robinson is a Jag. He's someone that really flashed in college that I think is going to be someone you take in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there. You're a Brian Robinson guy. Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Yeah. But guys, this has been a fun episode. Thank you guys for tuning in and enjoy the process.